Okay, so Robert Hunter, we were hunting
Yeah.
you for a long time and we got
Okay.
you. So everybody
Yeah.
knows you most of all, I don't know, my generation knows you most of all from Cabela and from
Yeah.
Castle and organizing in Hangar something. But where are
Yeah.
you now and what do you do?
Now I'm back in England for the first time in about 30 years, I think. After many years of being um, living overseas, the mother was the one who asked me to um, leave England and go to Italy, actually,
Mhm.
in 1986, I think. And so I spent many, many years in Italy. And then in 2001, she asked me to go to India as the vice principal of the school there.
Mhm.
And
In
so I spent
Dharamshala.
in Dharamshala, yeah.
Mhm.
So I spent a few years in Dharamshala. And then she asked me to go to Australia and New Zealand. The idea was to set up a university, actually. She wanted me to help set up a university, but actually that never worked out for various reasons. And and then in 2006, she asked me to be the general manager of the foundation,
In Cabela.
and which was just really that it was just starting. It was in those days. It was Cabela like it always had been under Mother's, bandan and management,
Yeah.
But then with the foundation, it was the moment when Mother was kind of withdrawing from the everyday management of things. And yeah, and then I was there until 2013. And so that was for about 7 years. I went to the Middle East, was working in the Middle East for a few years, and then now I'm back in England.
Okay, so
So
as I understand, many times Shmataji said you like directly go there and there. When she said to go to New Zealand or to Dharamshala,
yeah,
it was sudden, or how it, like what it feels when suddenly you come to meet Shmataji and she tells you go to live in India.
the first thing that you feel is just the pleasure and the delight of Shimataji having her attention on you and taking an interest in you and taking an interest in your life, and you just feel incredibly privileged and blessed by that, And obviously, sometimes it's not easy. It's because when she asked me to go to India, I had my own business. I had my own school, and it was just at a moment of transition. And the divine is asking me to do something, then it has to be for the good, for my good, for the good generally. So, and you just take the plunge, and there are rewards. The rewards come in vibrations. So they come in the experience, and I think it brings you closer to Mother, the connection to Mother. I remember with the school in India. The school in India was going through some troubled times at the time when she asked me to go. I was living in Cabela, and everyone was saying, "You must go and speak to Mother, and you must ask her what she wants you to do when you go to the school." I just felt very strange about that. I thought, how do you go and ask Mother what, if she wants to tell you something, she'll tell you. So Mother never called me, she never actually even directly asked me to go. It came through somebody else. I mean, she asked someone to ask me. I think the day or 2 days before I was due to leave, I just by chance was in the room with Shrimataji. And she said, "Oh, Robert, so when are you leaving?" And I said, "Oh, I'm leaving tomorrow." And she said, "Oh, good, good." She started talking about the principal of the school, who was this lady, Miss Deshpande, and she started singing the praises of this lady, saying what a wonderful yogi she was, and how dedicated, how deep she was, and telling me some stories about her life and how she'd given up her life to look after her siblings because her parents had died, and she'd never really done anything for herself, but she was this very, very deep and selfless lady. And she said, just go there and help her, because she's quite old and she just help her. And that's all she said, but nothing specific, So we left and we went to India and we arrived at the school. The school was in a very difficult way. For various reasons, there were problems there. There was no discipline in the school, and part of the reason was that the principal was in fact very old, and she couldn't. I don't know if you've ever been to the school in India, but it's up and down and hills, and you need some energy to move around. So she was stuck in her room. She didn't really move around. So she didn't. The way things work there is that people do things if they're monitored. I mean, they have to feel that you're on them and looking at them, and you've got eyes on them. And of course, she didn't have eyes on anything. A lot of factions had grown up in the school, and people who were for the principal, people who were against the principal. And of course, all of this, I knew nothing about any of this, So I just came into the school, and everyone was wanted to try and get me on their side, And I came into the school, and again, totally unaware, just with what Mother had said. And everyone said, okay, you must say what Mother said. What's Mother told you? What's Mother said? They thought. So I remember there was this big school assembly with all the kids, but also all the teachers. And
everybody expects you will be some big changes, with the message.
Of course. They thought I was going to come in and I was going to revolutionize everything. Everyone thought that the message they would get was the message that they wanted, and everyone had their own ideas, and it's always like that, isn't it?
Yeah.
We're all human. So I just said what Mother is. I just said what Mother had told me, and I said, and I started praising the principal and saying what Mother had said about the principal, and I said, Mother just said to me that I have to help the principal, and that's what I'm going to do. And I could see the principal, before I started, was really nervous because she knew that the conflict was there, and she thought I was going to come in and, do something, and she was going to be pushed aside or something like that. But of course, it was exactly the right thing to say. And of course, Mother knew that. Because the principal immediately relaxed and understood that I was her ally.
Wow.
And we immediately formed this very, very strong bond. She completely trusted me, and all the rivalries within the school fell apart because they knew that me and the principal were like that, and that this had come from Mother. So in one gesture, Mother solved everything.
Amazing.
So that was an incredible experience, and just to see how Mother works. And for 6 months, it was like Mother put me in a kind of bubble. And it was a bubble of vibrations where I had absolute clarity, absolute discrimination. I was completely thoughtless, in an effortless way. And it was like I was in a kind of zone, and I was able to make decisions and do things which were just the right decisions. And very, very quickly, the school got back on its feet, and the problems weren't that serious, really. And after 6 months, in that sense, it was just from a spiritual sense, it was an incredibly, enriching, but also rewarding experience, because it wasn't just the closest with Mother, but it was also, I got to see what it's like to just live in that dimension of pure Sahaj, and it was for about 6 months, and I didn't think about it. I think about it now looking back, because after 6 months, when everything was resolved, I went back to being Robert Hunter with all my doubts and my thoughts and my, wondering whether this is the right thing or that's the right thing. But that was after the job was done, and so. You asked me, the question was, what's it like when Mother asks you to do things and you just drop everything and you go? Yeah. And of course, yes, in some ways you make certain sacrifices, but on the other hand, you get so much more back, So that was, and that was the experience of the school. And I stayed for about 2 years, maybe a bit more than 2 years. And then Mother asked me to go to Australia. But it was really those first 6 months when actually the real work was done on a subtle level, I think, and then from a Sahaj level.
You are watching